It's Friday, May 22nd. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Is it a Hail Mary? A group proposes a new community with a stadium for Halifax. Ferry sideline for repairs continue to force Halifax Transit to cut service.
Lots of sunshine in the weekend forecast. Rain and showers return early next week.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good Friday evening. Well, the saga first began in the 1980s, and now it seems the latest chapter of a Halifax stadium is being written. This time, an American firm has designs on building an entertainment center and stadium within a brand new community. CTV's Callum Smith tells us where this could happen and who's behind it.
Here's a preliminary rendering of what could be on Highway 102 on the Halifax side of the airport. Potential for a sports stadium, housing, retail, hotels, and a medical facility. The American proponent calls it an entertainment district pegged at $1.5 billion.
We feel like Halifax has the most potential in all of Canada, quite frankly, for something of this size, this magnitude.
A stadium of 25,000 plus seats and 8,000 housing units. The proposed area along the Aerotech connector off exit 5A would be at least 150 acres. While a Halifax stadium proposal may feel like deja vu, there are some key differences.
We're going to make this place a destination, and I think that the overall scope of the project is kind of what makes it a little bit more feasible. And again, we're doing this with private money.
Maintaining taxpayers won't foot the bill.
If it has absolutely no taxpayers' money involved, that's a positive. The devil's in the details, and I want to know them first.
But she says there's no formal application to City Hall yet. Investors say the biggest hurdle is lack of water and sewer. Halifax Water says the province or HRM would need to approve extension to that area, and that the utility has not received a formal application yet.
If there are things that have dual purposes, such as water and sewer, may fit that bill. Roads may fit that bill. Those are discussions we're willing to have. I haven't personally had any of those discussions, but I'm intrigued by it, I would say.
The idea has been 2 years in the making, but Williams says they've kept it quiet. All Nova Scotia first reported the plans this week. Canadian Sport Institute Atlantic says ensuring there is more than spectator sports is vital.
Looks like a very exciting project. If there's private investors who want to build things in Nova Scotia, I think we should have our arms wide open.
The proponent tells CTV there are currently no deals with any professional sports franchises because a business plan comes first.
Honestly, we would love to be the venue that everyone plays at.
He says the project would come in phases, but a stadium could take 3 to 4 years to build, wanting to have water and sewer plans finalized within a few months.
We truly feel like this is a home run community for a project like this.
Callum Smith, CTV News, near Enfield, Nova Scotia.
Now, we've certainly heard this kind of thing before, so if you want to read more about what makes this proposal different, you can check out our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Expectant parents in and around Waterville, New Brunswick should be prepared to travel when labor begins. The Health Authority has suspended birth services at its Upper River Valley Hospital for the next week. CTV's Avery McRae joins us now from St. John. Avery, this is becoming rather common for folks in the area.
Todd, we aren't even halfway through 2026, and this is already the third time this year the Upper River Valley Hospital has suspended services for births and labor delivery. The latest service suspension, which began at 8 this morning, will be in place until 8 a.m. Monday, June 1st. It means women who go into labor over the next week that would normally go to Upper River Valley will now have to make the drive to Fredericton, which can be over an hour away. The reason for the pause is a lack of medical and nursing resources in the case of an emergency C-section. Health Minister John Dornan says additional staff have been hired that can perform operations like a C-section.
We have had only one for a long time. We've depended on people coming in to do locums. Now we have a long-term locum. When we negotiate with a locum physician, he doesn't arrive the day that we signed the papers. And so this person is close to coming on board. You will not see these diversions in the very near future, but it is happening now.
The hospital underwent a similar service suspension for over a week in April and again a few months earlier in February. The Miramichi Regional Hospital also recently had to reroute pregnant patients due to staff shortages last week. CTV reached out to Horizon for an interview, but no one was made available. Horizon says pregnant women in the Upper River Valley Hospital service area who are 35 weeks have been made aware of the closure. They remind folks even if they are feeling okay, they should still make the drive to Fredericton to avoid any complications that can come with childbirth. Avon McRae, CTV News, St. John.
If you live in or around Halifax and need to get blood work done, be prepared to wait. It's the latest health procedure that has people scrambling to get an appointment. CTV's Brianne Foley tells us why.
Residents in the Halifax area are frustrated with wait times, especially when it comes to blood work.
I was willing to travel wherever I needed to get the blood work. So you go through online, you're looking through the central zone, then you go to the eastern zone, western zone. It's like there's nothing here at all.
Nova Scotia Health rolled out the one-person, one-record system on May 9th and said bookings may be impacted to adapt to the new system.
We know that with the OPOR implementation, we have had to reduce some capacity in the system in order to get folks prepared and ready. So again, we are aware of that, but folks should just continue to go to the website and sign up for those available appointments.
In a statement to CTV News, Nova Scotia Health said reduced capacity will continue for up to 6 weeks after go live and is expected to impact appointments throughout May and into June. However, teams are assessing weekly to see if there is additional capacity that can be added.
Similar to other times of the year, on occasion we do have slowdowns in the healthcare system around procedures, and so this would be similar. And but certainly as soon as services are able to ramp up, we will do that.
But unfortunately, there's just nothing in the system. Every now and then you'll get like one that pops up as soon as you go in. You think you have it secured, it's gone. Someone else has booked it. So
Lisa Baker says for the last 6 months, she's had issues booking blood work even before the launch, and that people she's spoken with are feeling the same.
There's a lot of really frustrated clients in Nova Scotia. Just, they want the blood work done. They're trying to do what the doctor is suggesting and they can't.
Baker added that even with the emergency phone line, there is still a continued backlog since so many people are desperate to book appointments. Brianne Foley, CTV News, Halifax.
That is the Confederation Bridge, and that is construction on the Confederation Bridge, which has taken it down to one lane. We were told this was going to happen on and off straight through until July, and this is one of the cases where the crews are still out there. Lovely evening, 13 degrees, not a cloud in the sky there as we look, I don't know if we're looking towards PEI or New Brunswick. Let's bring in Kayla Mitchell with our look at the weather. We're going to turn our attention to frost.
That's right. So we saw a lot of blue in that footage of the Confederation Bridge, blue water, blue sky. And as we take a look at this map in behind me, there's some blue present as well. This is a little bit of a frost risk map across the Maritimes for tonight, where the blues are showing up lighter. That's a lower risk of frost, but certainly as they shade in darker and then into the purples and pinks, that's going to be a higher risk of some frost developing for tonight. But you can see there is some blue present around all 3 maritime provinces, and those purples and pinks up towards the northwestern corner of New Brunswick, where some lows tonight, especially at lower elevations in the valleys, could get down to around -4. That is representing the risk of some frost. So because of that, of course, we have frost advisories out for all 3 maritime provinces. So if you've got an early start on the growing season, you do have any temperature-sensitive plants out that you could cover up or bring inside tonight, would be a good night to do so. It is not that unusual for us to have a risk of frost at this time of the year for the Maritimes, again, especially away from coastal areas and at those lower elevations. Now, the other thing that comes along with this risk of frost for tonight is some very clear sky because of this area of high pressure that's in place. It's a clear sky. Winds are going to be getting lighter as those temperatures begin to cool down. This does make it a pretty ideal night to do some night sky viewing if you wish to do so. So here's a couple things you can spot in those night skies. First of all, the moon is already up. It's a waxing crescent moon. It's 41% illuminated. It'll be above the southwestern horizon throughout this evening. After sunset, you can look for the planets Jupiter and Venus. They will be easy to spot above the western horizon. And the aurora is unlikely to be observed tonight, but there will be a good pass from the International Space Station, a 5-minute pass starting at 10:18 p.m. and it'll be moving from the northwest to the southeast. Todd.
All right, thank you. We'll see you for the full forecast in a few minutes' time. In his State of the City address this week, the mayor of Halifax again emphasized how important it is to get people moving around town. Well, once again, Halifax Transit is making that more difficult. Just days after regular ferry service returned, it's being cut back again. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness tells us why.
Well, that didn't last long. 3 days after declaring Halifax's ferry service was back to normal, further delays have been announced.
Unfortunately, today, from yesterday afternoon, we've had an additional vessel go down with the same type of steering issue.
This time it's on board the Christopher Stanix. The same joystick problem shelved the Vincent Coleman since mid-January. This means service is once again back on the half hour instead of every 15 minutes.
I'm frustrated.
Dartmouth councillor Tony Mancini says the repeated disruptions make it difficult to convince people to give transit a try.
Well, I think those of us that consistently use it, we get frustrated, but we continue to use it. It's the group that we want to get out of their car, jump on the ferry and cross, whether they come from Halifax or from Dartmouth. Those are the folks that are saying, well, it's not reliable.
Halifax Transit's executive director isn't sure how long the Stanix will be out of use. The proprietary parts need to come directly from the European vendor. Robin Garris has been told they're en route, along with a beefed up order for extra parts to have on standby.
We've ordered multiple parts on a couple occasions now, and we've already got another order that's being manufactured right now so that we will have additional spare parts.
You want any fried onion, dear?
Not everyone, however, is complaining about the disruptions in the ferry service. This vendor outside the terminal says business is better when there are delays.
There's a little bit of a delay, which always works out good for us because they have to kill some time here, and sometimes it increases our hot dog sales while they're waiting.
A silver lining while waiting in line. Well, Todd, as for when the ferry will return to full-time service, Halifax Transit says they don't know. But that safety is a top priority, and the ferry won't be back on the water until the repairs and safety checks are done. Todd.
All right, John, on the Halifax side of the harbour for us tonight. Bilingualism is under review in New Brunswick. It's always a hot topic that hits jobs, services, just about everything else in the province. A committee is taking to the road for public input. CTV's Nick Moore reports on what's being considered.
Nursing homes are not required to offer bilingual services in New Brunswick, but the idea of changing that has been one topic under discussion this week in an overall review of the province's Official Languages Act.
A lot of interesting discussions this week, a lot of thought that needs to continue.
Liberal MLA Benoit Bourque is chair of the Legislature Committee reviewing the Act, which has representation from all three parties. A review of the Act 5 years ago recommended that nursing homes, which are privately operated, be subject to the same bilingual obligations of public facilities. The New Brunswick Association of Nursing Homes says it favors the idea of delivering services in one's language of choice, but warns it requires a lot of thought and consideration.
I think it's an oversimplification to simply say, well, hospitals provide services in both choice, services in the language of your choice. Nursing homes must provide service in the language of your choice. That's an oversimplification. You need to take a needle and thread the tapestry. You can't hit it with a hammer.
Bourque says the overall review of the Act is about how to improve it and not about whether or not New Brunswick will continue to be Canada's only officially bilingual province. Next month, the Committee of MLAs will hit the road to hear public input about the Act's future. Bourque says he's quite aware there are strong and varying views on the topic.
We are also cognizant that it can become a very emotional issue, and it can be sidetracked very easily, and we actually saw it this week. But I don't see that as a negative thing. I think it's important to listen to the people, what they have to say on the matter.
The Committee of MLAs will deliver a final report by the end of the year. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
Young people having a tough time in St. John will have a place to live with new housing options just announced. 9 units at the Michener Village site will be open to those between the age of 19 and 25. Officials say the site will help people at a critical age by giving them a safe place to live and offering counseling and other services. The center's director says rent supplements will be given to tenants. They can stay until they're able to secure a more permanent place to live. Governments are pitching in $1 million.
This is a voluntary program. If they want to live here and participate in what's being offered, we will work with anybody. This is a housing first program. You don't have to be, you don't have to be a high school graduate. You don't have to have a job. You don't have to be sober. It is housing first.
No details were given as to how people will be chosen for those units. The space is expected to be full by July.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The party is really ramping up in downtown Sydney at the East Coast Music Awards. Some Cape Breton artists have made the event even more memorable by taking home some of the top awards last night. Here's CTV's Ryan McDonald.
If there is anyone for whom these East Coast Music Awards in Cape Breton have been a full circle experience, it is Goldie Boutillier, who grew up in Reserve Mines.
Thank you guys so much. What a dream come true.
Boutillier was one of the big winners at last night's Gala Awards show at Sydney's Centre 200, taking home both the Album of the Year and Breakthrough Artist of the Year trophies. Today, the hometown girl was letting it all sink in.
Coming home and having a night like I did last night was the most fulfilling, and it matters the most because these are the people that have grown up with me, that have seen every version of me.
Elise Aaron.
Then there was a comeback story from this Glace Bay rock artist who was able to walk up on stage to accept Release of the Year after months of recovery from a motorcycle accident.
The future generation are future doctors, nurses, musicians who can picture themselves on this very stage. It's our job to be there for them.
Mi'kmaq fiddler Morgan Toney won Indigenous Artist of the Year, but the weekend is about more than the awards.
And we're just getting going. That was the preamble.
Saturday marks a big day for outdoor music downtown, including ECMA Fan Fest on the Esplanade.
And that's a ton of great bands, some of the premier talent here in this part of the world, playing for free right on the street.
Then the final day, Sunday, is highlighted by the Songwriters Circle at Member 2.
We got three absolute legends playing together for the first time on one stage and possibly the last time. We got Lenny Gallant, we have Con O'Brien from the Irish Descendants, and we have the legend himself, Mr. Jimmy Rankin.
The ECMAs mean hundreds of visitors to downtown Sydney and millions of dollars in spin-offs during the spring shoulder season. Meanwhile, for Boutillier, today marks the release of her first single from her brand new album. It's a song called Party.
It's also kind of kismet because now I want to party because I'm really excited about, the ECMAs and everything that just happened.
She and everyone else here in downtown Sydney have plenty of reason to do just that this weekend. Todd, I just had to stop dancing for a second there to that Goldie Boutillier song. I mentioned this in our item last night on the 5 show, but for Sydney and Cape Breton, these ECMAs really have been a long time coming. The last time they were here properly in person was all the way back in 2016, a decade ago. They were supposed to host here again in 2021, but obviously that was during COVID cancellations. They held virtual ECMAs, but that obviously wasn't the same thing. So the Sydney area is really soaking up having this event here in the downtown this week and weekend, without a doubt.
Ryan, Bob, who we saw in your piece, used to be with Great Big C, running the ECMAs now. He is such a salesperson, such a force, and you can see the excitement. But I have to ask you, what's the hot ticket? What are you hearing?
It's funny, I just finished saying to somebody else off camera, Bob Hallett could read me the phone book. What an entertainer, what a character. I'm going to out myself here, Todd. To be honest, I don't honestly know enough about the East Coast music scene to know what actually is definitively the hottest ticket, but I'm going to guess there's a lot of interest in that songwriter circle tomorrow at Member 2. I mean, like you heard Bob say, we have Lenny Gallant and Jimmy Rankin there, among others. That's going to draw interest in a crowd, follow her around, follow him around, follow Jimmy around, and that pun sounded better in my head. But yeah, it's what with Gordie Sampson having established kind of the legacy of songwriter circles here on the island, there's no doubt going to be some interest in that. And Member 2 always puts on a good show.
I think that's probably the safe pick. Thank you, Ryan McDonald, downtown Sydney at the ECMAs. Have a fun weekend. All right, time for us to take a break. Still to come, a clear and cool night, a risk of frost. Kalen returns with his full forecast. But next, the Trump White House is facing a lot of questions leading into America's Memorial Day weekend. We'll talk about that next.
This is your Campfire Conditions Report brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends. We are headed into a dry weekend in the Maritimes. Please check in daily on any provincial restrictions. Speaking of which, much of the province of New Brunswick is currently closed to campfires in Category 1 burning, with some permitted hours of 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. allowed for the counties of Restigouche and Gloucester. For the province of Nova Scotia, Category 1 burning and campfires permitted currently between the hours of 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. In the province of Prince Edward Island, campfires are permitted, but domestic brush burning is closed. In the counties of both Kings and Prince County, domestic brush burning permitted in Queens County between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. Keep fires small and under control, and never leave a fire unattended.
There's a lot of uncertainty facing the Trump White House going into a long weekend south of the border. President Donald Trump is getting rare pushback from some Senate Republicans over his so-called Justice Anti-Weaponization Fund. But Trump today was touting good economic numbers. NBC's Gary Grumbach has the latest from Washington.
As Americans prepare to hit the road, rails, and skies this holiday weekend, President Trump looking towards a future economic forecast, swearing in Kevin Warsh, his hand-picked choice to head up the Federal Reserve.
So no one in America is better prepared to lead the Federal Reserve than Kevin Warsh.
Warsh replaces Jerome Powell, whose term is ending this month. Powell was also handpicked by President Trump, but after an investigation that Powell viewed as damaging to the independence of the Fed, Trump withdrew his support for the longtime central banker. The president has also made no secret of pushing for lower interest rates, publicly pressuring Powell, but today Trump changed his tone with his new chairman.
I want Kevin to be totally independent. I want him to be independent and just do a great job. Don't look at me, don't look at anybody, just do your own thing.
Recently, the board signaled a rate hike could be coming. That's because the economy has been a roller coaster. The stock market hitting record highs, but inflation rising to 3.8% last month, outpacing wages. The war in Iran sending gas prices soaring, now averaging $4.55 a gallon and even higher in some areas of the country. With oil tankers stuck in the Strait of Hormuz for months now, analysts predict gas prices will keep climbing. Peace talks with Iran are at a standstill, and as the diplomatic push stalls, President Trump is now looking for a new director of national intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard is stepping down effective next month. She told the president today she needs to be with her husband, who was recently diagnosed with an aggressive form of bone cancer. Gary Grumbach, NBC News, Washington.
Still to come, it's a sunny weekend forecast for the Maritimes. That sounds good. Kayla Mitchell has the details of the full forecast after this. That's a pretty scene of Barrett Lake, Beaver Bank, Nova Scotia, not too far from Halifax.
Very, very nice.
Nice.
A little bit of fair weather cloud there. Not going to see any precipitation out of that, though, and that's generally the story here in the Maritimes. We're moving into the weekend.
Might have a repeat of that scene tomorrow.
That's right. And why is that? Well, let's take a look at the tail of the tape for the weather system that's sort of in charge of our conditions here in the Maritimes moving into and through much of the weekend. So this is a very large area of high pressure, and high pressure systems come in with something called subsidence. It's a downward forcing on the atmosphere. It prevents the upward motions that are needed to develop a lot of cloud cover or precipitation. So we are going to have sunny days and clear but brisk nights. Remember, we have that risk of some frost. The timing for this is going to be squarely in place on Saturday and for the first part of Sunday, and then after that begins to move off towards the east. Just a little note of this weather system. It's big. Coming up on Saturday, the area of relatively clear conditions brought on by that high pressure system includes most of Quebec and Atlantic Canada. That's an area of approximately just over 2 million square kilometers. Very, very large weather system. Taking a look at our timeline then for cloud cover and precipitation as we head through this evening and tonight, we're looking at mainly clear conditions. Into the overnight, that's when we'll have the risk of some frost, and it will be a little bit cool to start the day on Saturday. Moving from Saturday morning into and through Saturday afternoon, it is sunny across the Maritimes. And again, looking at some very clear conditions for Saturday evening and Saturday night. Temperatures are going to be cooler again. And that is why in the frost advisories, Environment Canada is mentioning that the current advisories, while they're in place for tonight, some of them may also be in place for Saturday night. Winds in the forecast are out of the north and northwest for tonight, and they are going to be sustained in most cases between 10 and 20 kilometers per hour. We're going to get a few gusts between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. For the low temperatures tonight, most of the Maritimes will see those lows fall down into the single digits. Up in the northwestern corner of New Brunswick, some communities may end up as chilly as between -4 and 0. And then here's a look at the high temperatures in the forecast for tomorrow. And across the north of New Brunswick, they're going to be a couple degrees warmer compared to today. So those high temperatures will be 17 to 20 degrees for most, 16 degrees around the coastline. Fredericton tomorrow, the high temperature near 19 degrees. Same thing goes for Macadam and St. Stephen, 17 at Campobello and Grand Manan, St. John, and for Moncton in the southeast. Here's a look at your forecast for Prince Edward Island. It's going to be a cool morning, but then sunshine into and through the afternoon. A little bit of a breezy wind. High temperatures near 14 for O'Leary and Summerside, and then 13 at Cavendish, 12 at Charlottetown and Montague, and then 10 at Surrey and St. Peter's Bay. In the east of Nova Scotia for tomorrow, in Cape Breton, a little bit cooler in Inverness County. High temperatures at Inverness and Shetty Camp, close to 8 degrees, 13 at Badek, 12 at Sydney, around the north shore of Nova Scotia. High temperatures near 13 on the eastern shore, between 11 and 14 degrees. 16 for Amherst and Truro for tomorrow, 17 around Fall River and Enfield, 17 degrees for the city centers Halifax and Dartmouth, at 14 at Chester and Lunenburg, near 17 degrees for the Annapolis Valley on Saturday. Nice day there, lots of sunshine. And on the south shore of Nova Scotia, most communities with high temperatures around 16, 17 degrees. UV index, it's that time of the year. It's going to be on the higher side for all 3 maritime provinces. So if you're doing some work or if you're out there just enjoying the sunshine, don't forget about some sun protection. 7-day planner for New Brunswick, mix of sun and cloud. Temperatures coming up to low 20s on Sunday. It's showers in the forecast for Monday, followed by a chance of showers on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, as well as on Thursday. And then a mix of sun and cloud, a little bit cooler next Friday. For Nova Scotia in the outlook, mix of sun and cloud on Sunday. Temperatures a little bit milder. Rain in the forecast for Monday. Chance of showers follows for Tuesday. Showers in the forecast for Wednesday. Chance of showers on Thursday, and then cloudy periods on Friday of next week. And for Prince Edward Island, mix of sun and cloud on Sunday. High temperatures near 19 degrees. Showers in the forecast for Monday. Highs near 14 on Tuesday with a lower chance of showers. Showers then return on Wednesday with a chance of showers on Thursday, and then a mix of sun and cloud on Friday. Todd.
Very good. Thank you. We'll see you later in the show. Next, we'll talk about this week's new releases, including one of those Baby Yodas in the latest Star Wars film. Stay with us.
Okay, so we're back at it Monday morning. Make sure to get those keywords for your chance to win $5,000.
They'll start with us after 7 a.m.
And around 7:30, you'll get a shot at a gift card to Ernest. Good luck.
It's Movie Friday, and to guide us through the week's new releases is the pride of Liverpool, Nova Scotia. There he is, folks, CTV film critic Richard Krause. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good, Todd. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
So look, we've got a little science fiction, a little comedy, a little horror action. Let's get right into it. So it seems like there was an endless run of Star Wars movies, right? There was a bit of a break. Now we have The Mandalorian and Grogu. So here's a look.
Before going into harm's way, check your armor first.
We're protecting everything the rebellion fought for.
This is that Baby Yoda?
That is Grogu, yeah. And that's the Mandalorian in the suit of armor, kind of a ninja meets a medieval knight meets bounty hunter, played by Pedro Pascal. And, you know, this is a very popular television show. The character of Grogu, a.k.a. Baby Yoda, you know, just really hit the right note for a lot of people, the right notes for a lot of people. And going to see this movie kind of sort of feels like you're binge watching 4 or 5 episodes of the show all in one go. It is on the IMAX screen, so of course it's bigger, it's louder, the set pieces are more elaborate, but they don't dig down anywhere. There's not a lot of ambition in terms of the storytelling, but there are some very cool monsters that seem to have jumped out of the imagination of special effects legend Ray Harryhausen. There are some cool nods to Star Wars, and at the very heart of it is the relationship between the Mandalorian and Grogu. It's a father and son kind of thing that really, they do a nice job of kind of playing up that in the film. And even though Grogu doesn't really speak, he just kind of makes sounds, he is adorable. So Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu in theaters now gets 3 out of 5 stars.
I'm sorry to hear that the storytelling's not great, because at the heart, you know, those original ones, that's where it lived and breathed for me, was the storytelling. But you know, good fun at the theater's okay too. All right, the next one is an oddball fantasy comedy called I Love Boosters. Here we go.
If you stole your design, we gotta get it back for that.
I have a plan. Together, we empty out every single Metro designer in the Bay Area.
We gotta take what's ours.
Boy, this thing's had a huge marketing push. Is it?
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's an unusual film. The director is Boots Riley, and he thinks like nobody else. He has made a movie here about boosters, a.k.a. shoplifters, who steal from very high-end boutiques. They steal designer clothing and then sell them in makeshift shops they set up in their apartments, and they sell them at a fraction of the price, which earns the wrath of a designer played by Demi Moore. And then it becomes a science fiction movie when someone shows up with a teleportation device that can take the clothes from one place to another seamlessly. It becomes about exploited workers working in sweatshops. It becomes an anti-capitalism thing. It is so all over the place, but all kept, you know, together. The glue that keeps it together is Boots Riley and his imagination, and a tremendous performance from Keke Palmer as the head of the boosters. This movie is a lot of fun, and it will keep you guessing all the way through. I defy anyone to sit there going, I know what's going to happen next, because I guarantee you, you don't. It's called I Love Boosters, and I gave it 4 to 5 stars.
Okay, 4 to 5 stars. Okay, so maybe this has the storytelling I was maybe hoping for in the Star Wars one. Okay. Our third offering tonight is called Passenger, not to be confused with a really bad movie from about a decade ago. It's a horror movie. Here we go.
I saw these on the car last night. 3 scratches just like that.
You didn't stop, did you?
Okay.
This is the story of 2 young, good-looking people from Brooklyn who give up their absolutely gorgeous apartment to live in a van and hit the open road. And along the way, 6 weeks into their journey, they pick up a demon. There's a demon on the road, and they have to try and figure out how to get this demon out of their van, out of their lives, and vanquish it forever. And this is a movie that is kind of similar to Jeepers Creepers, a little bit of The Hitchhiker thrown in here, other movies that have had kind of like demonic passenger themes to them. But this one spends a lot of time telling you what's going to happen, thinking about the lore, having them talk back and forth about it rather than actually scaring you. So it talks about the thrills, but it doesn't really deliver them. There's a couple of scenes that are quite creepy, but not quite there. So 2.5 stars out of 5 for Passenger.
Okay, it's always a van. This is not film, but it's entertainment, television, worth talking about. Let's take a clip and then we'll get into it.
Paul, why are you interrupting me?
I'm just curious when our interview starts. I have an extremely long poem I want to recite, and I don't want to run out of time.
The grand finale last night of CBS's The Late Show, 33 years, Richard, created for David Letterman on CBS. This really marks a change in the late night lineup. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, Byron Allen is going to be on now at 11:30 on CBS, and it looks like a talk show. It is a show about comedians, and they get together and sort of hang out, and it's very light, fluffy, kind of comes and goes. But it's not like quote unquote a late night show. It's not a network late night show. And Byron Allen produces it. It's been syndicated, so it's not going to have the same kind of vibe as these big network shows. And I think that there's a younger generation that just won't care. They didn't really grow up watching late night. But, for me, Toronto's oldest living man, I'm going to miss it. I miss the idea of having a show that kind of takes a look back at the day that has just happened, makes topical jokes about it, and then has interesting people on and maybe a band at the end. It's a 60-year-old premise, probably more than that, but for me, it works and it's entertaining.
And, say what you will, pretty odd to see a network drop the #1 show across the genre. You can have the discussion about what's behind that, and also the Ed Sullivan Theater, the end of the Ed Sullivan Theater again, right?
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I mean, CBS owns it. I cannot imagine that they would tear it down and turn it into condos, but I couldn't have imagined they would have canceled the #1 show in late night either.
There you go. Richard Krause, thank you. Happy viewing. We'll see you next time.
Talk to you soon. Thanks.
We'll be right back after this. In medical news, we have details of the rare strain of Ebola that's spreading in Congo and Uganda. CTV's Amanda Debison has the details in tonight's edition of The Lifeline.
As a rare strain of the Ebola virus continues to spread in Africa, Canadian doctors are working to educate people at home about the virus.
Dr. Isaac Bogosh of Toronto's University Health Network says there are a few strains of viruses that cause Ebola disease. He says the type causing the current outbreak in Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo is called Bundibujo. There are no therapeutics or proven vaccines for this strain. Dr. Bogosh says most outbreaks associated with the Ebola virus have been caused by the Zaire strain, for which most research has focused on developing vaccines and therapeutics. A new study from France links common preservatives to cardiovascular problems. It found they led to a 29% greater risk of high blood pressure and a 16% higher risk of heart attack and stroke. Even natural preservatives like vitamin C increase the risk of developing high blood pressure. Of the 17 common preservatives the study researched closely, 8 increase blood pressure over a decade. This study was published in the European Heart Journal. Preservatives are everywhere, not just in ultra-processed foods. Experts say they're vital to preventing spoilage and keeping food safe for longer periods of time. Finally, Montreal Public Health is warning of an uptick in Lyme disease in the city after reaching its highest number of cases since 2003. Health officials say people who enjoy outdoor leisure activities should be careful in endemic areas. Ticks are found in tall grass, gardens, forests, and woodlands where they latch onto skin. Wearing long clothing and using insect repellent during outdoor activities can help prevent bites. An infectious diseases specialist recommends carrying out thorough body checks after a hike or other outdoor activities. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
Time now for the scene. As we mentioned earlier, it's the end of a TV franchise. A rock and roll legend and host Stephen Colbert shut down New York City's Ed Sullivan Theater as CBS's The Late Show signed off last night. Here's ABC's Rena Roy.
Overnight, Stephen Colbert hosting the final Late Show on CBS.
If you're just tuning into The Late Show, you missed a lot.
Colbert trying to do a normal show, but he kept getting interrupted by celebrities, all vying to be his final guest.
A surprise celebrity cameo popping up out of nowhere?
No, Brian, those always feel kind of forced. Paul, why are you interrupting me?
I'm just curious when our interview starts. I have an extremely long poem I want to recite.
Ryan, it's great to see you, but I hate to tell you, buddy, you're not my last guest.
Ouchie.
The night building to a big surprise. Colbert, a devout Catholic, teeing up an interview with Pope Leo.
Oh, wait, Colbert. You call that a Chicago dog? Pope don't play like that. Leo, out!
But instead settling for Paul McCartney.
Hey, Steve, what about me?
McCartney returning to the Ed Sullivan Theater for perhaps the final time.
The Beatles, bring them on!
More than 60 years after the Beatles' legendary appearance on the same stage, McCartney gifting Colbert a photo of that concert.
To Stephen, you're better than the Beatles.
Closing out the final show with a Beatles classic. The broadcast ending with Colbert and McCartney turning off the lights on the Late Show franchise. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
A little different. We're going to make this a web poll tonight. We're asking you this. Do you watch late night talk TV shows? And your options are, yeah, all the time, or sometimes, or maybe you don't at all. Either way, we'd like to hear from you at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. All right, as we go to commercial, here's what's on CTV tonight. As we mentioned earlier this week, the business report is not available, but you can go to bnmbloomberg.ca for any headlines. We can, however, take a look at how the markets closed this week, and the TSX ended up 61 points at 24,471. The Dow was also up on this Friday to end the week. It was up 294 points. The Canadian dollar was down slightly, ending the day at 72.42. All right, let's go to Kayla Mitchell out on the weather deck. And one word to sum up your photo tonight, Ricola.
Ah, nicely put, Todd. Yeah, I hope we're seeing that picture right now, but if in case we are, it's Peggy's Cove, and this is Thomas Troll, and that's the Alpine Horn. And the picture was sent in by Teresa Smith. Really cool picture, and of course a lot of blue sky there in the background. I guess it was great weather to have the Alpine Horn out, so I want to thank Teresa very much, and Thomas as well, for the great picture. Peggy's Cove for tomorrow is expected to be sunny, and the high temperature will be near 12 degrees. Day planner across the maritime region will see sunshine in the morning, with temperatures a little bit the cooler side. Morning lows mostly around the low to mid single digits, and then moving into and through the afternoon, it remains a blue sky day. We talked about this earlier. We've got this big area of high pressure in place. A lot of high temperatures tomorrow, mid to high teens. A little bit cooler in Prince Edward Island, parts of the east of Nova Scotia, that part of the Maritimes with high temperatures around the low to mid-teens. Let's find out what's coming up next week on Your Morning Atlantic.
Monday on Your Morning Atlantic, let's go for a spin.
Halifax music electronic duo Pinio and Loeb, and they're going to join us to talk about their latest collab.
Start your morning with us Monday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally for us this week, a piece of the Eiffel Tower sold for big bucks yesterday. Take a look. That is a spiral segment of the tower's original staircase. It sold for more than 450 grand US. That's about 621,000 Canadian at an auction in Paris yesterday. The buyer became the owner of 14 steps of staircase that stands just over 9 feet tall, weighs about 1.5 tons, dates back to 1889, the year the tower opened over central Paris. It fetched about 3 times the upper range of its pre-sale value. That is our look at the day here at home. Stephanie Seacoast here at 11:30. Our weekend reporting is at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. We're going to leave you with the mini horses at Sunshine Ranch in Lawrencetown with the names of everyone who brings you your newscast. I'm Todd Battis. See you Monday. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.